Hello, everyone, and thanks for listening to the Quality Hub, Chatting with ISO Experts. I'm your host, Xavier Francis, and today I'm here with Brian Reich, Director of Technology, and Anne Siebert, Product Manager, both from here at Core. Glad you both could join us again.
Thanks for having us.
Nice to be here.
So glad you both are here again. You've been here for a couple different ones when we're talking about Core and some other cybersecurity type things. Today, we're actually going to be talking about protecting what matters, passwords, MFA, and you. But before we dig into that, let's hear a little bit about your journeys, and we're going to start with Anne.
All right. I am Core's product manager. I've been with Core since 2016, so we're going on a few years here.
A few years.
I've been with the software department at least 5 years, if not longer. At this point, you know, all of the years kind of meld together.
They blur, yeah.
Yep. So I work with customers, try to better understand what problems they might have for us to solve and to help build the software to make it a better place for everyone.
That's great. How about you, Brian?
I've been with Core for about 6 years now. I started as a humble code monkey, and they keep letting me fail forward into doing other stuff. I'm the head of the software team and a couple other things that are connected to keyboards too.
Oh, connected to keyboards. Nice. So are you a mechanical or more of the non-mechanical keyboard kind of guy?
The more they go clickety-clack, the better.
You, Anne?
Yeah.
No, definitely. I do not like the click.
She does not like the mechanical keyboards.
The quieter, the better.
No, you get me one of those like old 80s like PS1 keyboards.
Oh, yeah. Or the Commodore 64 where it was like sort of like a typewriter, but not. Yeah, I totally get it.
If I want to annoy myself, I would totally do those, but I couldn't work all day on that. No.
You would go insane. Well, let's get started. So, Brian, let's start with you. What is the current understanding when it comes to passwords and security?
Well, I'll preface anything I say by saying I'm not a security expert. There's better people that could talk about this than me, but I do try my best to stay up on the state of things and bring modern best practices into our software for the good of the code, the good of our company, and for our customers too.
So, Brian, you mentioned best practices. What are best practices we're talking about in 2025?
Yeah, so I'm glad you said 2025 because they definitely change over time, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I'd say a best practice is longer is stronger. So longer passwords are typically going to be better than shorter, more complex passwords.
Okay.
Use passphrases over passwords. That means multiple words rather than a single word with maybe more complicated characters in it.
So something like buffalo wings are my love language, !
Sorry, that's already mine.
Go birds.
You can't use it.
Go birds. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a good example. Don't use easily guessed or easily found information in your passwords. We'll get a little bit more into that later. Don't force people to change their passwords on a schedule. Now, that's newish.
That is.
Yeah. And as much as we hate it, use multi-factor authentication.
Okay. Anne?
I'll share. First, I'm also not a security expert like Brian, but I'll share my opinions here.
Well, yeah, and what we do here at Core and why we do what we do.
Our best practices. Number one, don't share your passwords. Really, you shouldn't be sharing your user accounts either, but I know some people do. There is a way to do that securely.
Mm-hmm.
Don't write down your passwords or reuse them for that matter.
I'm not allowed to put them on a sticky note by the computer that I need to sign in on?
That's not a great idea, no.
That would be a bad thing. Okay.
Yes. Change your passwords when you know there's been a breach. So there's a lot of companies out there that let you know when a password has been breached.
Mm-hmm.
My credit card company tells me when things have been breached. So go actually do something when that notification comes through.
Gotcha.
Lastly is don't click on anything suspicious, especially when it's saying your password is expired or something like that, trying to give you that ploy to give the password. It could be anything.
So what you might do, let's say Google says, hey, you have a password issue. Go to your Google account and do it that way. Don't click on a link or go, oh, there's a little link that we're giving you here to fix your password, which really is probably saying we want your password. Okay. All right. So there's a lot of direction in cybersecurity when it does come to best practices. And we and a lot of others use NIST to follow some of their guidance. Anne, who is NIST and why do we follow their guidance?
NIST is a government agency. It actually stands for National Institute of Standards and Technology.
Okay.
They're in charge of developing scientifically sound standards and baselines for cybersecurity, encryption, and other related technology.
Okay. So why do we follow their guidance?
We follow their guidance because generally it's good. It was written with the U.S. government in mind and the defense industrial base as well. So anything that the government is following, we think might be good for us to follow as well. For certain organizations, adhering to NIST guidelines is actually a contractual obligation. And if you don't follow it, then you could be in violation of your contract and maybe even the law.
Yeah, I know that CMMC is dealing with some of that.
Yeah.
Yes, so you got to be extra careful. For some other companies and organizations, it might be overkill. So it really is just a good way to start off and kind of see what works for you, what doesn't work for you.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So Brian, talk to us about password length versus complexity and why it's important. You sort of mentioned passphrases and things, but could you go a little bit more deeper on that?
The guidance on this stuff has changed over time. The recommendation used to be to mix different character types or classifications into your passwords. So that's where you get the requirements to use uppercase and lowercase and numbers and special characters, blah, 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 blah in your passwords. Mm-hmm. And that's no longer really the guidance, but it still persists. And a lot of information systems still require you to do that kind of thing.
Okay.
That guidance comes from a NIST publication from all the way back in 2003, written by a guy named Bill Burr. And that was Bill Burr, the mid-level bureaucrat, and not Bill Burr, your spirit animal, the bald comedian.
I do like myself a little Bill Burr.
I love him too. So this Bill Burr was not a security expert either. He was just a middle manager doing his best to write a policy. And in hindsight, that guy has actually expressed public regret for what he wrote. But the effects persist regardless.
Wow.
Yeah, kind of wild.
Who knew? Yeah.
Right? NIST actually did formally change their password guidance back in 2017. Their new recommendations, they consider a lot of things, including the scale and increase in computing power, human psychology, and just like objective observations of what people did with the old guidance, right?
So why would the computing power matter? Is that because it's so much easier to break things since things are faster if you can get on the dark web and find like a password breaker?
Yeah, and I mean,
it's quicker.
That's not even like, you don't need to even venture on the dark web to get that kind of stuff. There's been password crackers available open source for years and years and years, and password dictionaries, right? Computing power matters because the faster computers are, or the more computers you can distribute the password cracking job across, the easier and quicker it is to crack a password of some given complexity, right?
Gotcha.
But generally things are getting smaller and faster and cheaper and more robust constantly. Okay. So yeah, it just gets continually easier to do this.
And now with AI, I'm sure it's even easier.
Possibly, yeah. Back in 2023, there was a study done on how long it would take on average to crack passwords of varying lengths and complexity. When that report was written, an 8-character password, including a variety of character types like we talked about, that could take about 5 minutes to crack offline. So pretty quick. And that was
pretty quick.
2023, and things have gotten faster since then.
Yeah.
With the same technology, a 26-character password, on the other hand, would take several trillion years.
Wow.
Right?
So longer is better.
Longer is better. Yeah.
So you mentioned human psychology. What's that? How's that come to play?
Basically, you've got to think about what people did in response to those old guidelines. You probably remember, or you probably did some of it yourself. The security walks told us to make our passwords more complicated by including different character types. So what did people do with that information? They took their base password that they could remember off the top of their head, and they just start adding stuff to the beginning or the end.
1.
Yes.
And then?
And
2.
Yeah. Or capitalize that first letter of your dog's name,
Ooh,
right?
Yeah.
Fancy.
I feel like this is a Spaceballs episode, you know. So don't use a Spaceballs form of password.
Yes. That is good advice. That is good advice. Yep. So that didn't actually make your password that much harder to crack. It just adds a little bit of complexity to something that's very simple. So if that dictionary attack has that base word in the dictionary and it's familiar with the fact that people are just going to add numbers to the end of it, those password crackers, they go through the dictionary and they use those words and then just start adding stuff to the end.
Gotcha.
And it can still pretty quickly crack that kind of a thing.
Okay.
Right? So, again, that's they recommended complexity, and that resulted in people meeting the letter of the law, but not really the intent by doing things that they could still hopefully remember. Right. So then what do they do next? So they start recommending or requiring us to change our passwords every so often. A lot of systems will have like a 90-day or a 1-year password change requirement, right? So what do we do with that? We start changing that number every year, or some people literally just add the year to the end of that word that they were going to use. So
exclamation mark.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Again, we just start doing something that is still not all that hard to guess and not all that hard to crack offline. The results of that are, number one, people still have bad passwords, and number two, they aren't memorable and they have to change frequently. So people start doing things like writing them down.
Right.
They have those Post-it notes that you talked about before on their screen, which is a terrible practice, and don't freaking do it. And then, like, your parents have that little book in a desk somewhere with all of their usernames and passwords written down. And Mom, I know you're not listening, but knock it off. Okay.
Dad would never do that, but Mom. Well, when people also tend to reuse it and just change it a little bit. So there's like 3 variations to that same base password, like you were saying, for different accounts.
Yeah.
And that makes it real secure.
Right. And that brings us to the next thing, because your passwords are really hard to remember and everything requires a password. People start reusing their passwords across systems, and maybe they've got some variation, maybe they don't. But what that means is that if a hacker cracks your password for one system and you've reused that elsewhere, they have the keys to your whole kingdom in some way. So if you've used the same password for your Facebook and your bank account, if they've got one, they've got the other.
Right.
They're going to try it.
So what makes a bad password? We talked about that a little bit. It's short, easy to crack, easy to guess, obvious words like your name, your company, your dog. And what makes a great password?
Make sure it is long enough.
Okay.
So we recommend at least 16 characters or longer. Longer the better, right? It's not easily guessed. So make it a passphrase. That's a great way to make it longer and not easily guessable.
Passphrases changed my life, by the way. Just telling everybody.
I can
out there.
remember them, and they're still ridiculously long.
Yeah, absolutely.
Think of a sentence, right, about your life that maybe not everyone would know, or put random words together that you're just going to remember yourself and not be a easily guessed, easily trackable in the dictionary
Movie
type
quotes,
of thing.
Book quotes, Bible verses, all those kind of things. Are, the longer, the better.
I think I've used most of those, yes,
Yeah.
myself. Use character variations. That's still a good idea. So you can capitalize some words, do camel case.
What's that?
Camel case. So start with every letter or every word of the letter you capitalize.
Okay.
That's also a good idea. And still use your special characters, numbers, that sort of thing. Make sure it's easy for you to remember, right? So if it's a favorite quote that you have, it's going to be something that you remember that you don't have to write down necessarily. You're just going to remember it no matter what. And it's unique. So don't reuse that password anywhere else. Just keep it for your bank account. Keep it for Facebook.
Gotcha. This ends part 1 of our podcast on passwords, MFA, and you. Please tune in next week when we'll talk about multi-factor authentication, as well as password keepers and other best practices. We want to thank everyone who's listened to our podcast today. We hope that it has been informative for you. Now, if you're looking for more information about Core Business Solutions, now that we're an LRQA company, how we can help you with ISO certification, cybersecurity, or even customized training, please email us at info@thecoresolution.com. You can also visit our website at www.thecoresolution.com. If you haven't already followed us on your favorite podcast platform or YouTube, please be sure to do so, and that way you won't miss the next Quality Hub podcast when it's dropped next week. Have a great day, everyone.